Are you okay? What happened? Can you tell me how you fell?
Those guys are dangerous. You're bringing trouble here. Stay away from them. What were you thinking?
Jasmine Brooks gripped 11 wrinkled dollar bills in her palm, standing under flickering lights in an empty gas station lot. These bills represented everything, her 7-year-old daughter's morning meal tomorrow. Then a sound pierced the silence, harsh breathing. A hulking man wearing a Hell's Angels vest collapsed beside his bike, hand pressed to his chest. His skin turned ash gray. Death was seconds away, and nobody else was there. "Stay away from him," the clerk yelled from inside. "Bikers mean nothing but problems." Jasmine's eyes moved from the dying stranger to her money. Tomorrow morning, Arya would wake up hungry, but leaving him wasn't possible. She purchased aspirin and water with every dollar she had, then dropped to his side. She rescued him without understanding his identity. Jasmine couldn't imagine that this decision would transform everything. Because when morning came, 99 motorcycles arrived on her block. Let me take you back to the hours before that gas station, before her world shifted. Jasmine's alarm sounded at 5 in the morning, just like always. She pulled herself from bed in the cramped apartment where she lived with 7-year-old Arya. The space was tight and worn in a rough neighborhood, but they called it home. Opening the kitchen cabinet revealed one nearly empty cereal box and half a milk carton in the refrigerator. She poured the remaining cereal into Arya's bowl, making it last. Arya appeared in pajamas, sleepy-eyed. "Good morning, Mama." "Morning, sweetheart." Jasmine kissed her forehead and placed the bowl down. She made nothing for herself. There wasn't enough. This defined life now. Counting every cent, extending every meal, hoping nothing unexpected happened because no cushion existed, no backup plan, nothing saved. Jasmine held 2 jobs. Mornings at the laundromat folding other people's clothes for $11 hourly. Evenings at a diner serving truckers and night customers, working for tips that sometimes reached $20, sometimes less. Her vehicle had stopped working 3 weeks back. Repairs were impossible financially. Now she walked everywhere, covering miles to work and home in deteriorating shoes with a hole in the left one. Bills never stopped coming. Rent was due in 3 days. She was $150 behind. The landlord had already warned about eviction once. Arya's asthma inhaler needed refilling, $60 she didn't possess. The electric bill carried an overdue notice stuck to the refrigerator. But Jasmine never complained. She'd learned long ago that complaints didn't cover expenses. Her grandmother had taught her one principle. Kindness doesn't cost anything, baby, and sometimes it's our only gift. So Jasmine smiled at coworkers despite exhaustion. She asked customers about their days even when her feet hurt terribly. She kept a small notebook beside her bed where she listed 3 gratitude items nightly, regardless of how difficult the day was. That Tuesday began like every other morning. She took Arya to the neighbor's place before school, then headed to the laundromat. She folded clothing for 8 hours, her thoughts automatic. Jeans, towels, bedding repeatedly. At 2 o'clock, she finished and walked to the diner. Her shift started at 3, but arriving early meant grabbing coffee and sitting in the back corner for a few quiet minutes. Rita, her colleague, a gentle older woman who'd worked at the diner 20 years, joined her. "You look exhausted, dear." "I'm always exhausted," Jasmine responded with a slight smile. "You're working yourself sick for that girl." "She's everything," Jasmine said. Rita squeezed her hand. "I understand, but care for yourself too, all right?" Jasmine nodded, though they both understood she had no such luxury. Her evening shift was hectic. Truckers, several families, teenagers ordering late-night food. She smiled, recorded orders, refilled coffee, and stayed moving. By 10 o'clock when her shift concluded, her tips totaled $24. She sat in the back counting cash on the table. 24 in tips plus the $10.47 from yesterday, $34.47 total. She needed bus fare for tomorrow, 47 cents. That left $34. She tucked 24 away for rent. $10 remained for Arya's breakfast and perhaps something small for dinner tomorrow. $10. She folded the bills carefully into her pocket, then began the 2-mile walk home. Late hours, empty streets. Jasmine was drained but kept her eyes forward and continued walking. She decided to cut through the gas station lot along her route. A restroom was there and she needed to stop. That's when everything shifted. That's when she heard the man struggling to breathe. And in that instant, Jasmine Brooks faced a choice costing everything she owned. A choice saving a life. A choice revealing her true character when nobody watched. She couldn't know this single decision would alter her existence forever. Jasmine exited the gas station restroom into the parking area. Overhead, fluorescent lights flickered and hummed. Past 11 at night, the place was nearly deserted. Then she noticed him. A man enormous, likely 6 feet 4 inches, with a thick gray beard and tattooed arms, leaning against a chrome motorcycle beneath a light. He wore a black leather vest covered in patches. Hell's Angels. Even from far away, Jasmine recognized the skull emblem. She'd heard warnings about men like him. Everyone had dangerous, criminal, keep away. She began walking toward the street, minding her business. Then the man stumbled. His hand flew to his chest, his face contorted in agony. He dropped to one knee, gasping. Jasmine stopped. The man fell onto the pavement, flat on his back. His breathing came in short, frantic bursts. His lips turned blue. She stood frozen. Every instinct screamed to keep walking. This wasn't her concern. She had Arya to consider. She carried enough trouble already. But then she heard it, a sound freezing her blood. The man stopped breathing. His chest went still. "Help!" Jasmine shouted toward the gas station. "Someone call emergency services." The attendant, a white man in his 30s, stepped outside holding a cigarette. He glanced at the man on the ground, then at Jasmine. "Lady, are you crazy? That's a Hell's Angel." "Leave him be. He's probably overdosed." "He's having a heart attack," Jasmine insisted, her voice rising. The attendant shrugged. "Not our business. Those guys mean trouble. Trust me, don't get involved." An older man, about 61, white, wearing a trucker cap, walked out carrying chips. He saw the scene and shook his head. He approached Jasmine and gently grabbed her arm. "Miss, listen carefully. Don't get involved. People like that are dangerous. You've got a child, don't you? I can tell. Just walk away." Jasmine pulled her arm back. "A man is dying." The trucker shook his head again, muttered something, and walked to his vehicle. He drove away without looking back. Jasmine stood alone in the lot. The attendant returned inside, abandoning her with the dying man. She looked down at him. His chest wasn't moving. His face was gray. She thought about her grandmother. Years ago, her grandmother had collapsed on a city sidewalk. A stroke. People walked past. Nobody stopped. By the time someone finally called for assistance, it was too late. Jasmine had been 13 years old when she received that news. She'd never forgotten. She dropped beside the man. Sir, can you hear me?" His eyes barely opened. He tried speaking, but only a wheeze emerged. "Heart, meds, forgot." Jasmine grabbed her phone, one signal bar, 10% battery. She dialed emergency services. The call failed. "No." She stood and ran toward the gas station. She burst through the door. "Call an ambulance immediately. He's dying out there." The attendant rolled his eyes but picked up the phone. Jasmine didn't wait. She scanned shelves, grabbed aspirin and water. She ran to the counter and slammed them down. "How much?" $7.50. She pulled the $10 from her pocket and handed it over. The attendant gave her $2.50 change. She didn't wait for a receipt. She ran back outside. The man remained on the ground, barely conscious. Jasmine twisted off the aspirin cap, shook 2 tablets into her palm, opened the water, and knelt beside him. "Hey, look at me. I need you to chew these, can you?" He opened his mouth weakly. She placed the tablets on his tongue. "Chew, come on." He chewed slowly, grimacing. She held the water bottle to his lips and he sipped. "Help is coming," she said, hand on his shoulder. "You're going to survive. Stay with me." His hand reached up and grasped hers. His grip was weak but present. "What's your name?" he whispered, voice barely audible. Jasmine Brooks." "Jasmine," he coughed, "you saved my life. Not yet, but I'm trying." Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Then another motorcycle roared into the lot. A younger man, maybe 31, also wearing a vest, jumped off and rushed over. "Raven, oh my God, Raven." He dropped beside the man. He looked at Jasmine, eyes wide with shock. "You helped him." "He needed help," Jasmine said simply. The younger man stared at her like she'd done something impossible. "Most people cross the street when they see us." Jasmine didn't respond. She kept her hand on Raven's shoulder until the ambulance arrived. Paramedics rushed over with a stretcher and equipment. One looked at Jasmine. "Did you give him aspirin?" "Yes, 2 tablets about 3 minutes ago." The paramedic nodded. "Smart action. You probably just saved his life." They loaded Raven onto the stretcher. He reached out and grabbed Jasmine's wrist one more time, eyes locked on hers. "Tell them Raven sent you." She had no idea what that meant. The younger man stood as the ambulance doors closed. He walked over to Jasmine, pulled a business card from his wallet, and handed it to her. plain white with just a phone number and a small logo, a crown with wings. "My name's Marcus," he said. "Raven's going to want to thank you. Please call this number tomorrow." Jasmine took the card, hands shaking. She looked at the logo, then back at Marcus. "Who is he?" Marcus smiled, but something heavy showed in his expression. "Someone important, someone who doesn't forget kindness." The ambulance pulled away, sirens blaring. The gas station attendant stood in the doorway, arms crossed, shaking his head. Jasmine stood alone in the lot with $2.50 in her pocket and no idea what she'd just done. She walked home through darkness, replaying everything. The attendant's words echoed in her mind. Those guys mean trouble. But all she'd seen was a man needing help. Had she made a mistake? She didn't know yet, but she was about to find out. Paramedics worked quickly. One placed an oxygen mask over Raven's face while another checked vitals. Jasmine stepped back, hands still trembling from adrenaline. Marcus paced back and forth, running hands through his hair. He looked terrified. "Is he going to survive?" he asked the paramedics. "We got him stable," one said. "But if this woman hadn't given him aspirin when she did, we'd be having a very different conversation." Marcus turned to Jasmine. His eyes were red. "You don't understand, Raven, he's not just anybody, he's everything to us." Jasmine didn't know what to say. "I just did what anyone would do." "No," Marcus shook his head firmly. "Most people would have walked away, especially from someone who looks like him." The paramedics loaded Raven into the ambulance. Before they closed the doors, Raven pulled the oxygen mask down slightly and looked at Jasmine. "Thank you," he mouthed. She nodded. The ambulance doors closed and the vehicle disappeared into the night. Marcus stood there momentarily, watching it go. Then he turned back to Jasmine. "You got kids?" The question surprised her. "Yeah, a daughter, Aria, she's 7. What's your situation? Are you working?" Jasmine hesitated. She didn't know this man, but something about how he asked, gentle, genuine, made her answer. "2 jobs, we're managing." Marcus looked down at her shoes, the hole in the left one, her worn jeans, the exhaustion written across her face. "Yeah," he said quietly, "I bet." He pulled out his wallet. It was thick with cash. He started counting bills. "Let me give you something for the aspirin, for your time, for what you did." Jasmine stepped back. "No, please," Marcus looked up. "But you used your—" "I said no." Her voice was firm. "I didn't do it for money." Marcus stopped. He stared at her for a long moment. "Then why?" "Because he needed help, that's it." Marcus slowly put his wallet away. He studied her face like he was trying to memorize it. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a business card. Plain white, phone number, crown with wings logo. "Raven's going to want to thank you himself," Marcus said. "Tomorrow afternoon, please call this number." Jasmine took the card, planning to discard it when she got home. "I'll think about it." "Please," Marcus said again. Something almost desperate filled his voice. "Just call, that's all I'm asking." She nodded, slipping the card into her pocket. Marcus got on his motorcycle. Before riding off, he looked back at her one more time. "You're a good person, Jasmine Brooks. Don't ever let anyone tell you differently." Then he was gone. Jasmine stood alone in the gas station lot. The attendant had returned inside. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Everything felt surreal, like she'd stepped out of a dream. She started walking home. 2 miles through darkness with $2.50 in her pocket. Her mind raced the entire way. What had just happened? Who was Raven? Why did Marcus look at her like she'd done something extraordinary? All she'd done was help someone. But the way they reacted, it was like nobody had ever helped them before. She thought about the attendant's warning. Those guys mean trouble. She thought about the trucker who told her to walk away. Maybe they were right. Maybe she'd just made a huge mistake. Maybe tomorrow she'd wake up and regret everything. But she couldn't shake the image of Raven lying on that pavement, his chest not moving, his face turning gray. If she'd walked away, he'd be dead. That was the truth. And she didn't know how to regret saving someone's life. By the time she reached home, it was nearly 1 in the morning. Her neighbor, Mrs. Foster, an older woman who watched Aria when Jasmine worked late, was asleep on the couch with Aria curled beside her. Jasmine gently shook Mrs. Foster awake. "I'm home, thank you so much." Mrs. Foster nodded groggily and left. Jasmine carefully lifted Aria and carried her to bed. Aria stirred slightly. "Mama, SHH, go back to sleep, sweetheart. I love you, Mama. I love you too." Jasmine tucked the blanket around her daughter and kissed her forehead. Then she walked back to the kitchen and sat at the small table. She pulled the business card from her pocket and stared at it. The crown with wings logo glinted under the dim light. She turned it over. Nothing on the back, just a phone number. Who were these people? She looked at the 250 on the table. Tomorrow, Arya would wake and ask for breakfast, and Jasmine would have to tell her they'd have crackers and the last banana, nothing else, because she'd spent her last $10 on a stranger. She pulled out her journal, a small notebook she kept by the window. Every night, no matter how difficult things were, she wrote 3 gratitude items, something her grandmother had taught her. She opened to a blank page and wrote, 1. Arya is healthy. 2. I helped someone tonight. 3. Tomorrow is a new day. She closed the journal and looked at the business card again. She set it on the nightstand beside her bed. Then she lay down, exhausted, and closed her eyes. She had no idea what tomorrow would bring. She had no idea that across town in a hospital room, Raven was telling Marcus to gather everyone. She had no idea that her name was being spoken in rooms she'd never seen by people she'd never met. She had no idea that her life was about to change in ways she couldn't imagine. All she knew was that she'd done the right thing. And sometimes that's all you can do, even when it costs you everything. Jasmine's alarm sounded at 5 in the morning, just like always. She dragged herself out of bed, her body aching from the long day. She walked into the kitchen and opened the cabinet. 1 banana, a handful of crackers, that was it. She split the banana in half, arranged the crackers on a plate, and poured a glass of water. Arya came out in her pajamas, rubbing her eyes. Morning, Mama, what's for breakfast? A special breakfast today, sweetheart. Jasmine forced a smile. Banana and crackers, your favorite. Arya didn't complain, she never did. She climbed into her chair and started eating. Jasmine didn't make anything for herself. There wasn't enough. She sat across from Arya, watching her eat, trying not to think about how empty the cabinets were, trying not to think about the $10 she'd spent last night. Then came a knock at the door. Jasmine frowned. It was barely 7 in the morning. Who would be knocking this early? She opened the door. Mrs. Williams stood there, her neighbor, a black woman in her 60s who'd lived on this street for 31 years. She had her arms crossed and a deep frown on her face. Jasmine, baby, Mrs. Williams said, her voice tight. We need to talk. Good morning, Mrs. Williams. Is everything okay? Mrs. Williams stepped closer and lowered her voice. I heard you helped one of those biker thugs last night, one of those Hell's Angels. Jasmine's stomach dropped. How did she know? He was having a heart attack, Mrs. Williams. I had to. Child, those Hell's Angels are criminals, Mrs. Williams cut her off. Drugs, violence, all kinds of trouble. What were you thinking? You got Arya to consider. He was a human being who needed help, Jasmine said, her voice steady but quiet. That's all I saw. Mrs. Williams shook her head, disappointment written across her face. You're too kind for your own good, Jasmine. That kindness is going to get you hurt one day. Mark my words. She turned and walked back to her apartment, leaving Jasmine standing in the doorway. Jasmine closed the door slowly and leaned against it. Her hands were shaking. Had she made a mistake? She looked at Arya, still eating her crackers, completely unaware of the conversation. Jasmine forced herself to breathe. Finish up, sweetheart. Time to get ready for school. At the laundromat, Jasmine folded clothes on autopilot. Her mind kept replaying Mrs. Williams's words. That kindness is going to get you hurt, Rita, her coworker, noticed. She walked over and sat beside Jasmine. You okay, dear? You look like you didn't sleep. Jasmine hesitated, then told her everything. The gas station, the biker, the heart attack. Using her last $10, Rita's eyes went wide. You helped a Hell's Angel. Girl, you're braver than me. Or stupider, Jasmine muttered, according to Mrs. Williams. Rita reached over and squeezed her hand. Baby, you did what your heart told you to do. Don't let anyone make you feel bad about that. But what if she's right? What if I brought trouble into my life? Rita looked her in the eye. You saved a man's life, Jasmine. That's never the wrong thing to do. Jasmine wanted to believe her, but doubt gnawed at her. During her break, she pulled out the business card. She stared at the crown with Wings logo, turning it over in her fingers. She pulled out her phone and typed a text message to the number. Hi, this is Jasmine Brooks. Marcus gave me this number. She hit send before she could change her mind. Within seconds, her phone rang. She stared at the screen. Unknown number. She let it go to voicemail. A minute later, she listened to the message. Jasmine, it's Marcus. Raven wants to meet you today. Can you come to Bailey's Diner on 7th Avenue at 3? It's important, please. Jasmine's heart pounded. Rita leaned over. What did they say? They want to meet me this afternoon. Then go, Rita said. What's the worst that could happen? Free coffee. Jasmine tried to smile, but her stomach was in knots. She finished work at 2. She could make it to the diner by 3. But what would people think? What would Mrs. Williams say if she found out? What if this really was a mistake? As she left the laundromat that afternoon, she noticed something. Two motorcycles parked across the street, two men in vests watching. When she looked at them, they nodded respectfully. Then they rode off. Jasmine stood on the sidewalk, her heart racing. What had she walked into? And more importantly, could she walk back out? Jasmine took the bus to 7th Avenue. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. As the bus turned the corner, she saw them. Motorcycles, dozens of them parked in perfect rows outside Bailey's diner, chrome gleaming in the afternoon sun. Her stomach dropped. The bus stopped. Jasmine almost stayed in her seat, but something made her stand and walk toward that diner. Bikers lined the sidewalk, big men with tattoos and gray beards, women too, arms crossed, standing tall, all wearing vests with patches. They weren't loud, they weren't threatening, they were waiting. As Jasmine walked past, each one nodded to her. One older man tipped his cap. Jasmine's heart pounded. What did that mean? She reached the door, took a breath, and walked inside. Every booth and table was filled with bikers. The diner was dead silent. Every single person turned and looked at her. Marcus appeared from the back, smiling. Jasmine, thank you for coming. Raven's waiting. As they walked through the diner, something incredible happened. The bikers stood up, one by one. As she passed, they rose to their feet like a wave moving through the room. Jasmine had no idea what it meant, but it felt sacred. Marcus led her to a corner booth. Raven sat there, looking better than last night. When he saw her, he stood slowly, wincing. Jasmine Brooks, please sit. She slid into the booth. Raven studied her. How are you feeling? I'm fine, how are you? Doctor said if you hadn't acted quickly, I'd be dead, heart attack. I'm just glad you're okay. Raven leaned forward. Marcus told me everything. You wouldn't take money. You've got a daughter, 2 jobs. You used your last $10 to save my life. Jasmine shifted uncomfortably. It wasn't about money. I know, that's why I wanted to meet you. He pulled out a photograph and slid it across the table. A younger Raven stood beside a woman. Between them was a little girl, maybe 8, with bright eyes and a huge smile. That's my daughter, Raven said quietly. Her name was Rose. Leukemia. She was 8. We couldn't afford treatments quickly enough. By the time we got the money, it was too late. Jasmine's throat tightened. I'm so sorry. Raven's jaw tightened. After she died, I made a promise. Anyone who shows real kindness, especially when they've got nothing, I help them. It's what Rose would have wanted. Jasmine didn't know what to say. Raven looked her in the eye. Tomorrow morning, something's going to happen. Don't be scared. Just trust me. What do you mean? Raven smiled. You'll see. He stood, shook her hand, left cash on the table, and walked out with Marcus. Jasmine sat alone, surrounded by silent bikers, completely lost. An older biker leaned over. You did good, miss, real good. She had no idea what he meant. Back on Jasmine Street, the neighborhood buzzed with talk. Mrs. Williams stood on her porch with Mr. Thompson, a man in his 40s from 3 doors down. That girl Jasmine is mixed up with those bikers now, Mrs. Williams said. I told her no good would come of it. Mr. Thompson frowned. Hell's angels on our street. We need to do something. A young mother overheard. I'm keeping my children inside tomorrow. Word spread quickly. By dinner time, the whole block was on edge. Parents warned their children. Curtains stayed drawn. Doors stayed locked. Nobody knew what was coming, but everyone was afraid. And Jasmine rode the bus home with a pit in her stomach, wondering if she'd just made the biggest mistake of her life. Tomorrow would tell her the answer. Jasmine woke to a sound like thunder, deep, rumbling, shaking the windows. Engines. She rushed to the window and looked out. Her street was lined with motorcycles, hundreds of them, chrome gleaming, black vests, bikers standing in perfect formation. Oh my God, she whispered. Aria ran in. Mama, why are there so many motorcycles? Jasmine had no answer. She threw on clothes and rushed outside with Aria clinging to her hand. The entire neighborhood had come out, but they weren't curious. They were terrified. Windows slammed shut, doors locked, parents pulled children inside. Mrs. Williams stood on her porch with her phone. Yes, police, there's a gang on our street. Mr. Thompson ran toward Jasmine, face red with anger. Jasmine, what did you do? Why are they here? You brought a gang to our street. Our kids live here. Other neighbors gathered, voices rising. What were you thinking? I told you, Mrs. Williams shouted. I warned you. The crowd pressed closer, angry faces, pointing fingers. Aria started crying. Mama, I'm scared. Jasmine pulled her close, hands shaking. It's okay, sweetheart. But she didn't know if it was. Marcus stepped forward, hands raised. Folks, we're not here to cause trouble. Then why are you here? Mr. Thompson shouted. We're here to help one of your own. Jasmine saved a life 2 nights ago. Now we're here to save hers. Silence. A trailer truck pulled up. Bikers started unloading boxes. Marcus turned to the crowd. My name is Marcus. I'm a volunteer with Rose's Legacy, a nonprofit that helps struggling families. Nonprofit? Someone muttered, skeptical. Raven, the man Jasmine saved, is our founder. He started Rose's Legacy after his daughter died of leukemia. We've helped over 3,000 families in 21 years. We raise money, build homes, and pay medical bills. Mr. Thompson's face changed. Wait, Rose's Legacy? You helped my cousin in Detroit, Miguel Thompson, veteran with PTSD. You paid for his therapy. Marcus nodded. A woman gasped. You paid for my son's heart surgery 2 years ago. Another voice. You saved my grandmother's house from foreclosure. The atmosphere shifted. Fear turned to understanding. Mrs. Williams's hand covered her mouth. Lord, we judged you all wrong. Raven stepped out of the truck, moving slowly. The crowd parted as he walked toward Jasmine. He turned to face the neighbors. I get it, Raven said. You saw the jackets, the bikes, the tattoos. You got scared. That's human. He pointed to Jasmine. But this woman didn't see any of that. She saw a man dying and used her last $10, her daughter's breakfast money, to save my life. Complete silence. She didn't know who I was, didn't care. She just saw a human being who needed help. That's the world I'm trying to build, where people see people, not stereotypes. Mr. Carter, an elderly black man who'd lived here 41 years, stepped forward with wet eyes. I judged you by your jacket, not your heart. I was wrong. I'm sorry. He extended his hand. Raven shook it. We all make mistakes, sir. One by one, neighbors approached, apologizing, shaking hands. Mr. Thompson walked to Jasmine. I'm sorry I yelled. You were braver than all of us. Jasmine couldn't speak. Raven turned to her. You gave me a second chance. Let me give you one. He handed her an envelope. Inside, a check for $27,000. Jasmine stared, unable to process it. For rent, medical bills, whatever you need, Raven said. There was more, a letter on official letterhead. Rose's Legacy offers you community outreach coordinator. Salary $53,000 yearly. Full benefits, health insurance. Start in 2 weeks. Jasmine's knees buckled. She dropped to the ground sobbing. Aria knelt beside her. Mama, why are you crying? Happy tears, sweetheart. The neighbors erupted in applause. Some cried too. Engines revved. A thunderous celebration echoing down the street. Mrs. Williams pulled Jasmine into a hug. Baby, you showed us how to be better. I'm so sorry. Raven knelt beside Jasmine, wincing. One more thing. He pulled out a car key. We bought your car from Impound, fully repaired. It's around the corner. Jasmine looked up, face streaked with tears. Why all this? Raven's eyes glistened. 21 years ago, my daughter died because we didn't have enough money. I swore I'd never let that happen to another family. You saved my life with your last dollars. Didn't hesitate, didn't ask for anything. That's who the world needs. That's who I need. I'm nobody special. You're wrong. You're exactly who we've been looking for. Marcus stepped forward. There's more. Come. He led her to the trailer. Inside, furniture, a bed for Aria, groceries, toys, school supplies, clothes. Jasmine laughed through tears, disbelief, and joy mixing. This is too much. It's not enough, Raven said, but it's a start. Bikers began unloading. The neighbors, terrified an hour ago, stepped forward to help. Mr. Thompson grabbed a box. Where do you want this? Mrs. Williams directed traffic. Careful with that bed. The young mother who'd locked her kids inside now had them helping carry toys. The entire street came together. Fear and prejudice transformed into community and love. Raven stood beside Jasmine. Tomorrow we start planning the community center right here. Community center? Brooks Center, named after you. Jasmine shook her head, crying, You can't. I can, and I am. Aria tugged her hand. Mama, they brought me a bike. Jasmine looked at her daughter's face, pure joy, no fear, and something inside her broke open. For the first time in years, she felt real hope. Thank you, she whispered to Raven. You already thanked me, Raven said. You saw me, not the vest, not the tattoos, just me, that's all I needed. By noon, Jasmine's apartment looked completely different. The old sagging couch was gone, replaced by a sturdy new one with soft cushions. The wobbly kitchen table became a solid wooden dining set with 4 matching chairs. Aria's mattress on the floor became a real bed with a frame, fresh sheets, and pillows. Bikers moved furniture while neighbors helped unpack boxes. Mr. Thompson assembled Aria's new bed. Mrs. Williams organized the kitchen cabinets with new plates and glasses. Aria ran from room to room, eyes wide with wonder. Mama, look, I have a real desk and books and toys. Jasmine stood in the middle of it all, overwhelmed. Raven sat down on the new couch and patted the spot beside him. Sit, let's talk. Jasmine sat, still in shock. I want to explain the job, Raven said. What we'd need from you. I'll do anything, Jasmine said. I just want to help. Raven smiled. We get hundreds of requests every month. Single mothers, veterans, families who can't afford medical care. I need someone who understands struggle, who can look someone in the eye and see their heart. That's me. I know, that's why you're hired. He pulled out a folder with blueprints inside. But there's more. I want to open a community center right here in this neighborhood. Jasmine's eyes widened as she looked at the drawings. Here, why not? This is where people need it most. Job training, food bank, after-school programs for kids like Aria, a medical clinic. That's incredible. Raven pointed to the top of the blueprint. 2 words, Brooks Center. We're naming it after you. Jasmine shook her head. You can't do that. I didn't do anything special. Raven looked her in the eye. You saved my life with your last $10. That's the definition of special. Tears filled Jasmine's eyes again. Your job is to find people who need help, Raven continued. You'll visit families, review applications, connect them with resources. Everything you went through, that pain you felt trying to make ends meet, that's your superpower now because you know exactly what they're going through. Jasmine nodded, wiping her eyes. When do I start? 2 weeks. That gives you time to quit your other jobs and settle in. Raven pulled out a benefits packet. Health insurance starts on day 1, covers everything, including Aria's asthma medication, completely. Jasmine's breath caught. Completely? Completely. No copays, no deductibles. You'll never have to choose between her inhaler and groceries again. She broke down sobbing. Raven waited patiently until she could breathe again. There's one more thing, he said. He pulled out a vest. Not a Hell's Angels vest, but a volunteer vest for Rose's legacy. The crown with wings embroidered on the back. You're one of us now, family. Jasmine took the vest with shaking hands. She put it on and looked in the mirror hanging on the wall. She barely recognized herself, but in a good way. Your first job, Raven said. Find someone in this neighborhood who needs help. Use those same instincts that saved me, then we'll help them together. Jasmine thought for only a second. Mrs. Patterson, 3 doors down, she's 81, can't afford her heart medication. I've seen her cutting pills in half to make them last. Raven smiled. Then let's go. They walked to Mrs. Patterson's apartment, Jasmine, Raven, and Marcus. Jasmine knocked. Mrs. Patterson opened the door slowly, surprised to see people on her doorstep. Jasmine, what's going on, dear? Mrs. Patterson, I'd like you to meet some friends. We're here to help. They sat in Mrs. Patterson's small living room. Raven explained Rose's legacy while the elderly woman listened, tears forming in her eyes. Ma'am, what do you need most right now? Raven asked. Mrs. Patterson's voice shook. My heart medication. I can't afford it anymore. I've been cutting the pills in half, but I'm almost out. Raven pulled out his phone and made a call. We'll have your prescription filled and delivered today. Full 3-month supply, no cost to you. Mrs. Patterson grabbed Jasmine's hand. You did this for me. We did this, Jasmine said. Together. Mrs. Patterson wept. As they left, Jasmine looked back at the elderly woman's grateful face. This is the best job I'll ever have, she said to Raven. I know, Raven replied, because you understand what it means to need help, and now you get to be the person who shows up. They walked back to Jasmine's apartment where the celebration continued. Neighbors laughed. Bikers shared stories. Aria played with her new toys. And for the first time in 3 years, Jasmine Brooks didn't worry about tomorrow because tomorrow was going to be okay. Actually, it was going to be better than okay. It was going to be beautiful. 6 months later, everything had changed. But the change didn't happen overnight, and it didn't happen smoothly. The day after the bikers came, someone posted a video online. Jasmine standing in her street surrounded by 99 Hell's Angels motorcycles. The footage went viral. The comments came fast. She's glorifying gang culture. Hell's Angels are criminals, don't be fooled. This is staged, no way this is real. Jasmine saw them, every single one. They hurt, Rita called her. Ignore them, dear, they don't know the truth. But the negative comments kept coming for weeks. Then something shifted. Families Rose's legacy had helped started sharing their own stories, videos, posts, testimonials. A veteran in Ohio. They gave me housing when I had nothing. A single mother in Pennsylvania. They paid for my daughter's surgery. She's alive because of them. An elderly man in Michigan. They saved my home. The comments changed. I was wrong about bikers. This is what real charity looks like. Faith in humanity restored. Within a month, the hashtag Rose's Legacy was trending. Month 1, Jasmine sat at her new desk in the Rose's Legacy office. A nameplate in front of her read, Jasmine Brooks, Community Outreach Coordinator. She reviewed applications, made phone calls, visited families. Aria thrived in her new school. Her inhaler sat on the counter, always full, always accessible. No more cutting corners, no more fear. Month 2, a vacant lot in Jasmine's neighborhood became a construction site. Brooks Center was rising from the ground. At the groundbreaking ceremony, Jasmine stood with a shovel surrounded by bikers and neighbors. Local news cameras filmed everything. The reporter asked, "How does it feel to have a community center named after you?" Jasmine smiled. "It's not about me, it's about what happens when people choose kindness over fear." Month 3, Jasmine met Marcus, not the biker Marcus, but a young black veteran, 33 years old, living in his car. She sat with him in a coffee shop. "Tell me what you need. A place to sleep, a job, a reason to keep going." Within a week, Rose's Legacy placed him in transitional housing and enrolled him in job training. 3 months later, Marcus worked at a local factory. He had his own apartment, a paycheck hope. He came back to thank Jasmine, shaking her hand with tears in his eyes. "You gave me a second chance." "No," Jasmine said. "You gave yourself a second chance. I just opened the door." Month 4, Brooks Center opened. The ribbon-cutting ceremony drew hundreds of people. Jasmine and Aria cut the ribbon together, both laughing. Inside, the building buzzed with life. A job training center, a food bank, an after-school program, a medical clinic offering free checkups. On opening day, 44 people came through the doors seeking help. All 44 left with something they needed. Month 5, testimonials poured in. Rosa, a Latina mother of 3. "Rose's Legacy paid for my daughter's surgery. Without them, I would have lost her." Mr. Carter, the elderly man who'd apologized to Raven on Jasmine Street. "They paid my property taxes. I get to keep my home because of them." A teenage girl, 17, with dreams of college. "The after-school program helped me get a scholarship. I'm going to study medicine." Month 6, Jasmine now led a team of 5 coordinators, each one a person she'd helped first, now paying it forward. Rose's Legacy expanded to 3 neighboring towns, each location modeled after Brooks Center. Raven recovered fully. He spent his days visiting the centers, meeting families, shaking hands. He told Jasmine one afternoon, "You know what Rose would say if she could see this?" "What?" "She'd say, 'Daddy, you did good.'" Documentary filmmakers came to interview Jasmine. They wanted to tell her story. She sat in front of the camera and said something simple. "A year ago, I had $10 and a choice, help a stranger or feed my daughter breakfast. I chose to help, and that choice saved both of us." The short film premiered online. Within a week, 5 million views. One day, Jasmine returned to the gas station where it all started. She walked inside and asked the manager for permission to place a small plaque on the wall outside. He agreed. The plaque read, "Here, a small act of kindness changed everything. Rose's Legacy." The gas station attendant, the one who told her to leave Raven alone, saw her and walked over. "I remember you," he said quietly. "I told you not to help him." Jasmine nodded. "I was wrong," he said. "I've been following your story, what you built. I'm sorry." Jasmine smiled. "We all learned that's what matters." She walked out of that gas station for the second time, but this time everything was different. This time she wasn't alone. She had a family now, a community, a purpose. And it all started with $10 and a choice. 1 year after that night at the gas station, Brooks Center hosted an anniversary celebration. The building overflowed with people. Families who'd been helped, bikers who'd volunteered, neighbors who'd learned to see past their prejudices. Balloons hung from the ceiling. A banner stretched across the wall. 1 year of kindness. Jasmine stood at a small podium looking out at the crowd. Aria sat in the front row, beaming. Jasmine cleared her throat. "A year ago, I spent my last $10 on a stranger. I didn't know who he was. I didn't care. He needed help. That's it." The room applauded. "I was scared," Jasmine continued. "People told me I was making a mistake, that I was bringing trouble into my life, and for a moment I believed them." She looked at Raven, standing in the back with his arms crossed and a proud smile on his face. "But what I learned is this: kindness is never a mistake, even when it costs you everything, especially then." More applause. Some people wiped their eyes. After the speech, a young woman approached Jasmine. She was white, early 20s, with nervous eyes. "Hi," the woman said. "My name is Emily. I don't know if you remember, but you helped my mom 6 months ago. She had cancer, couldn't afford treatment." Jasmine searched her memory. Mrs. Lawson? Emily nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. She's in remission. The doctors said it's a miracle, but it wasn't a miracle. It was you. It was Rose's legacy. They hugged tightly, both crying. Mrs. Williams walked over, now a regular volunteer at Brooks Center. She pulled Jasmine aside. Baby, I need to say something. What is it, Mrs. Williams? I'm sorry for what I said that morning, for judging you, for judging them. She gestured toward the bikers scattered throughout the room. You taught this old woman that it's never too late to change. Jasmine squeezed her hand. You were just trying to protect me, I understand. Still, I was wrong, and I'm grateful you didn't listen to me. That evening after the celebration ended, Jasmine walked home. She still walked everywhere. Even though her car was fixed, she liked the quiet, the time to think. As she passed a different gas station, she saw a young man sitting on the curb, Latino, maybe 23, head in his hands. Jasmine stopped. Hey, you okay? The young man looked up, eyes red. My car broke down. I don't have money for a tow. I'm supposed to pick up my son from daycare in 20 minutes. Jasmine opened her purse and pulled out $50. She handed it to him. What? No, I can't. Yes, you can, Jasmine said. Get your car towed, get your son. The young man stared at the money like it was a miracle. I don't even know you. You don't have to. Jasmine pulled out a Rose's legacy card and handed it to him. When you're back on your feet, help someone else, pass it on, and if you ever need more help, call that number. Tears streamed down his face. Thank you, I won't forget this. Jasmine smiled. I know you won't. She walked away, her heart full. A year ago, she'd been the one with nothing, the one who needed help. Now she was the one giving it. The cycle continued. Kindness creates more kindness, and somewhere Jasmine knew Rose was watching, smiling, proud. Jasmine's story started with $10 and a choice. She could have walked away. She could have listened to the fear, but she didn't. She saw a human being who needed help, and she helped. That one choice changed everything. Here's my question for you. Who can you help today? Who needs your $10, your time, your kindness? And who have you judged unfairly? What person have you walked past because of how they looked? Jasmine looked past the leather vest and tattoos. She saw a person, not a stereotype. How many times have we judged too quickly? If this story moved you, don't just watch, act. Help someone this week. Leave a comment. Tell me about a time kindness changed your life. If you believe in second chances and communities lifting each other up, hit that like button. Subscribe. Share this story because the more people who see this, the more kindness spreads. Now go be someone's Jasmine.